As I was reading through the passage in 1 Peter chapter 1, starting verse 13 this week, I was really struck actually by this concept of love. Now, we have all kinds of ideas. What is love? What constitutes love? I grew up with the Beatles. They said all you need is love. And we have a lot of Christians who are consumed by this and just believe that love in and of itself is the only part of our faith that matters. But is that really true? Well, I think Peter's going to tell us in this passage that love is important, but it's sort of the end product. It's not the beginning point of a different process for us as Christians. So we already know, we saw, for example, he said at the beginning that it's by God's grace that we're living as exiles with hope, right? We're foreigners, we're strangers in this land, but we live with this abiding hope. And because we have this knowledge of hope that ties to God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit, he says, therefore, prepare your mind. He says, be sober-minded. Set your mind on hope. And so that's the first step in this chain. He said, once we have this knowledge, then prepare the mind, right? Then he says, once you've prepared your mind, then obey the Father. That's the second thing that's going to happen in this process. So we're going to obey the Father. He says, don't conform to the world. Be holy as God is holy. And once we start to purify our lives and our actions, and we do it out of fear of God, and that of course, that word fear can always be a little misleading here. Fear doesn't mean, I'm scared of you, God, but fear in the sense of God is the one who's going to be our ultimate judge, right? That's why our actions need to be purified. We need to obey God because He is going to be our ultimate judge, not the world, not the criticism of the world. Think about this context again. The church is under persecution, and I'm sure they're tempted to compromise. But He says, look, don't fear them. They could take away your inheritance. They could take your family. They could take away everything. But don't fear them. Fear the God who is ultimate judge over all things. And eventually He'll be their judge too. And then once you've purified your mind and once you've purified your actions, He says this, now purify your love for one another. Live with a pure love, a holy love, an informed love that will allow you to overcome the persecution that you're facing. And I think that's the most critical piece about love. It's sort of like this unbroken chain. We cannot love unless our actions are purified in holiness. And we cannot purify our actions in holiness until our mind is prepared and set on hope. And we can't have our mind set on hope unless Christ came and was crucified, was raised, so that we could have this new life. And that's really the chain of progress in this whole thing. So yes, we are to love one another. We are to care for one another and help each other overcome the trials, the struggles, the difficulties we face. But let's take a hint from what Peter is giving us here and not forget the chain of being, the chain of living our faith that requires, to begin with knowledge. And knowledge prepares the mind. Knowledge shapes our actions and holiness, and then we'll love and faithfulness. And I hope that's an encouragement this week to take action, to live it out, but to start in the right place so that our love is not misplaced.